It was a long drive back to the city. I had to go a little bit slow so cops didn't pull me over. Inconvenient, but they were just doing their jobs. I planned, in my delirium, to make some calls when I had a chance to see if my friend on the force had gone talking to anyone about me being called to the scene before it burned down, and whether or not they knew I was there and if I was a fugitive. But I could worry about that after I got done almost dying. The pain. The pain was enough that most of the drive was spent focusing on staying alive. My destination, despite the lateness of the hour, was a place where I knew a friend would be. It took nearly 45 minutes to get there, and by that time, swelling and agony and blood loss was making it a little tough to keep breathing. I figured if I could get some meds in me and get some fluids, I could keep moving. Hell, I tended to recover faster than most people anyway, and my friend was... well, he was a hell of a doctor. I made it to Moonsong New Age store, I shit you not, nestled tightly in a decent, but not particularly great, part of town. Sort of middling, really. It seemed... the shop, that is, a little bit oddly upscale for the area. You know, except for the fact that the only window was tiny, and the door was barred and reinforced, and that tiny window had a steel security shutter behind it. So, yeah, that's where upscale meets ghetto chic, I guess. Like the two buildings to the side and the one behind it, Moonsong was old brick, kept barely clean enough to look nice, but not so clean that it looked out of place because, well, it was Blackwood. Like many other people who were flying under the radar for one reason or another, and like most of the folks in that area, they knew that if they were really in need and weren't total shitheads, the man who owned the building would help them as much as he could. I happened to be one of those people on 2 counts. I rolled into the side access alley and then around back, and the city noise dropped away almost frighteningly quick. Out back, I could see a man casually loitering by the external stairs to the 2nd floor. He watched me roll up on the trike with the casually relaxed posture of a man who had a gun and knew how to use it quite well. He was also very, very pretty. I made a note to ask Marcus if he started hiring security from modeling agencies or if he just got really lucky. Getting off the bike was a chore. The bags hanging on my shoulders, opposite my wounded side as much as I could. As I walked, I let my hand trail down, finally feeling for whatever had stuck in me I had been a little too nervous to before. It was metallic and warm from my body heat, and my shirt was sopping, my pants were damp at the hem on that side. It was a harpoon. Or a metal spear, something of that nature. And it hurt something impressive. Oh, I hadn't had that much pain since I'd had a goddamn serrated knife stuck in my leg back in... I guess that would have been Caracas. Keep in mind, you start something here and I will disassemble you, the man, the pretty one, said as I made my way towards the stairs. Man, I got a fucking harpoon or something in my side. Why don't you take a breather and calm down? I'm a friend, I spat back. He frowned at me, and still looked pretty. I was suitably impressed. What I said stands, he replied mildly, gesturing for the stairs. I grunted and supported myself on the rail as much as I could, going as slow as possible. I could feel him moving up the stairs behind me, keeping a safe distance and following me to the 2nd floor of the wide, squat building. Marcus threw the door open before I could even get all the way on the landing, staring at me in shock. "Frank, what the hell?" he asked, looking me up and down. "Oh my God, Frank, you're impaled." Marcus was an attractive man, to me. He was a bit older than me, nearly 40. Shorter, too, about 5'10" to my 6'11" and a half. He kept himself fit enough to handle most things and then some, but he wasn't quite as obsessive as I was about it, nor was he as interested in being strong. That led to him holding a comfortable weight, strong but not overly lean. His head was still shaven, his goatee was still immaculate and flecked with early silver. Unlike me, who had gone silver when I was born. No joke. Dusty silver gray. That was my hair for my entire life. I got hurt, Doc. Bad things been going on. Things that I need to deal with that I can't while impaled. There's a teenage girl and some street kids out there who are in need. Her parents are dead and I couldn't save them. I told him. With Marcus, it's better if you just give him a summary. He sort of blinked at me and then just took my hand and tugged me into his apartment. The place was as open a floor plan as it could be, save for about a quarter of the massive space, sectioned off into 4 rooms. One was a bathroom, one was a closet. The other 2 were reasons why I was there. The floors were dark tile, everything was easy to clean. I was glad, because I was pretty sure I was dripping blood off the thing stuck through me. And beyond that, everything looked the same as it had the last time I was there. He still had his weird new agey work table area, where he'd make some of the charms and crap he sold down in his store. Tables covered in crystals, weird bottles, and cabinets of herbs and spices. Whole 9 yards. All that voodoo shit. There was a dining table by a rather nice kitchen with a breakfast bar, security bars over second-floor windows for some reason, couch, television, armchair, sized for me, coffee table, etc., etc., etc. Well, this place hasn't changed much, I managed. You were here exactly twice when we were on dates, Frank. I never even treated your injuries here. You were drunk once. How can you possibly remember what my place looked like? We were having sex, Marcus. I wasn't blind, I told him. He chuckled quietly, as if that explained or reminded him of my memory for things like that. And then he tugged the keys out of his pocket and unlocked a exam and operating room. Now, I guess I just forgot how paranoid and observant you are, Frank. He took my hand again, pulled me into the room, and shut the door behind us. In the suddenly sharp fluorescent light, his unusually dark eyes seemed almost piercing. He told me, "This is gonna hurt, Frank. It's gonna hurt like hell. I can keep you from not dying, probably, give you some meds and things, but it's gonna be painful. I know you hate hurting me, Marcus. It's fine. You're a doctor. I'm badly injured. Pain is inevitable. Please, this girl, man, I don't know how much time she's got. Please help me." I rested a hand on his shoulder. He stared up at me for only a second before shying away from my touch and turning his back on me. "She's got no one but you now, right?" "I know. Alright, I'm gonna help you, Frank. Just give me a sec." He made his way across the bright white room, stopping in front of this long steel table that dominated almost the entire wall across from the door. The table that had a wide, deep sink set into it, and a bunch of other crap on it. He kept his back to me while shrugging out of the sweater he had on and undoing the button-down he was wearing. I made my way to the table in the center of the room, plain steel and uninteresting, the operating table. And I waited. He cast the sweater and shirt aside, leaving him topless and really nice to look at. Don't give me shit on that, though. Alright, I had a bad night, and an attractive man's bare back was something I appreciated greatly. I should not have used the words bare and back like that. It was almost a little sad when he pulled on an extremely sterile-looking scrub shirt and a black rubberized apron. While he scrubbed up, I thought about us. I hadn't been to his place in 3 months. We'd talked on the phone, but we hadn't seen each other much. We got coffee once, I guess. We had some good times together, but like I said, We only saw eye to eye until we didn't, and once that happened, we sort of fell apart. I got busy, he got busy, we realized we weren't going to work out, settled on friendship, and then we got even busier. I wasn't sure what we were anymore. Friends, lovers, awkward associates, casual sex partners, nobody would tell me. So, you gonna tell me what happened? He asked, tugging on the very same gloves that every other goddamn medical professional I ever saw wore. I don't know if I can, Marcus. These people, they have equipment and shit I've never seen before. They're smart. And the more you know, the more danger you're in. I lifted my arms for him as much as possible and tried not to choke on the agony. He walked over slowly, started cutting my shirt away. The exam room was the same as it used to be, though. All cabinets on one wall, machines and testing equipment, and a crash cart on the other, so on and so forth. So yet again you're involved with dangerous people who want you dead. What a surprise, Frank. Why don't you tell me about this missing teen girl? He, worked the scissors around the spear in my side, and I shuddered as I felt it move, taking a slow breath. He was distracting me and getting information out of me all at once, and you know what? I let him have his info. 17, shorter than you by a lot, fit, lean, martial artist, gymnast, maybe 5 foot, 5'1", Asian, half Japanese, half Chinese, I think is the simplified. Maybe, I told him as he stripped my shirt off. I glanced down to see the swollen, reddened flesh around the spear. The bleeding was minor, and likely would be until the spear was pulled out. I'd gotten lucky with it, to be honest. The harpoon went straight through front to back on my side. If this had been a few inches more towards center, you would need hardcore surgery. Lucky, lucky. You always get lucky, Frank. She sounds like an impressive young woman. Sit on the stool, come on. I sat down, and he moved around behind me, gloved hands trailing down my back. In a low tone, he said, "Your back and the side opposite the harpoon are a disaster of bruising. It looks like you were hit by a car. Looks like it took you on the side. And then maybe you got hit again on your back. And then your chest, too. Fuck it. Keep talking." His hands moving over the thick, corded muscle of my back actually somehow made them feel better, even though it hurt like hell because of the bruising. I sat still while he got an IV pole and several bags out, got him rigged up, and, set up an IV into my arm. He did some stuff with the IV tubes, filled a syringe with what I suspected was morphine and then injected it into a fill port, I guess, on the tubes, or whatever you call it. It didn't take long for chemical numbness to set in, suppressing the aches and pains. And I remembered pretty immediately that morphine was good shit. She's pretty, Marcus. She seemed smart from her journal. And how she hid it, too. The guys who killed her folks, though, they were smart. If not well-trained. They at least had someone real smart leading them. I said, giving in. He injected a numbing agent around the spear while I talked. "Sounds bad, Frank. Real bad. Maybe this girl's a lost cause," he said calmly. Rage flared in me. "She's a lost teenager who needs help, you son of a bitch! Don't you dare tell me she's a fucking lost Fuck!" See, he had distracted me with anger. Well, he gripped the front part of the spear firmly and proceeded to drag it the rest of the way through me, pulling it out. A squirt of hot blood disgustingly followed it out, before he applied pressure. I hunched over, and that just hurt more, so I sat up and clenched my fist, teeth gritted, the pain driving all logical thought from my head. He gently whispered to me to calm down, that it would be okay. Strange as it is, it helped. He had a calming voice, I don't do it justice, and a sort of calming air to him. Also morphine. The next step was to clean my burns, which went well. Ointments came next. Whatever he started rubbing on me, it felt really nice. I kept pressure on my side, and shit hurt. There was little to do for such a clean wound track. Except keep it clean and let it heal up. At least the spear wasn't excessively thick, maybe a few fingers in width. Once he got all the weird ointments and salves on, he left them to soak in and started debriding the wound track. Now, I guess you gotta get rid of tissue that's too damaged and clean it all out. I don't know, it sucks. But it's all he could do. The drugs were working, the salves were working. I started to drift a little, talking about my concerns that these people were some kind of cult, some kind of paramilitary cult. Marcus listened with some mms and ahs here and there. I think at that point he was humoring me. I might have been delirious. I let him get gauze pads in place all over my damn body, put ointments and salves on, bandage me from my neck to my goddamn waist. I lost track of the time. But, I know he made me take my pants and boxers off at some point so he could clean the blood off my legs and put salves on my thigh bruises. Bruises I hadn't even noticed, by the way. From there it gets real hazy. I know he dragged me out of the room and into his apartment, over to the area enclosed by silk privacy screens. I vaguely remembered telling him I had to go and turning away, stumbling and nearly hitting my face on the floor when I almost passed out. I remember him grabbing me with more strength than I expected and forcing me into his bed. He tucked me in, checked my IV, told me to fucking sleep or he'd give me a sedative. "When do you sleep, Doc?" I remember asking. "When I have time, Frank. When I have time." And then everything went soft and quiet.